A new study claims that we're eating a credit card every week.
This particular material induced an inflammatory response.
Who would want plastics or chemicals in their food anyways? Who would want plastics? Who would want plastics? Who would want plastics?
I remember reading that headline and immediately was shocked and appalled that that was the concentration and the amount of plastic that we were exposed to on a weekly basis. I, like others, have done some back of the envelope calculations, and to me, with the measurements that we have available right now for the exposure rate, I don't think it's possible for any one individual to be exposed to that much mass of microplastic in a week. If their intention was to get people to talk about it, then they accomplished that. That's a very common line that you see in a manuscript, and that talks about the biological effects that may be occurring. But without the dose and the exposure to really assess if this is something that is an acute toxicity that we have to worry about right here and now, if I were to drink a water bottle and ingest the microplastic, is there a biological effect immediate or is it delayed? And then if it's delayed, is it the acute accumulation of the microplastics?
Oh my God, plastic in my brain?
There are very limited studies that have looked at accumulation. It's very difficult to determine if those particulate matters that have been shown in the brain are actual microplastics or if they are other types of particulate matter. What percentage of them retain in our circulatory system and accumulate in tissues, that's yet to be determined. There's some preliminary studies that show we get a pro-inflammatory response, especially if we were to breathe them in into our lungs, or if they were to reside in our colon for a longer time period. So oxidative stress is definitely an endpoint for which some people are looking at to see if the different smallest of small microplastics, meaning the nanoplastics, are inducing. When you have oxidative stress, that immediately could translate into an inflammatory response or a pro-inflammatory response. Inflammatory response may trigger and turn on, but it's a cascade that then eventually will subside. If the inflammation subsides, then it's less of a concern. If the inflammation is sustained and continues out over time, then it's more of a concern. Whether or not that causes a disease, we don't know. Whether or not that causes a sustained condition that leads to mortality, again, we don't know. And that's what we have to trust, these what's called the ADME properties, how we absorb, distribute, metabolize, and excrete the different things that are coming into our bodies. There's studies out there that have shown that the fecal matter contain microplastics. And if we were to have more of those studies, we'd be able to do a mass balance to show what goes in must come out. It's something that does need more study. So we do need to understand if it is possible for micro and nanoplastics to cross over the blood-brain barrier, to be able to go into other compartments in the body, like the deeper areas of the lung. But the other side of the coin is the potency of what we're being exposed to.
My shampoo bottle is plastic. My groceries are plastic. I'm constantly exposed to it.
For something like microplastics, we may not be able to completely eliminate the exposure. It's almost impossible. We've been exposed to the microplastics and just the plastics industry for many decades now. I think we have to understand that there is exposure. It's just we do not know enough about it to quantify it. And certainly there is not enough data out there to even come close to it saying that it's worth a credit card. At this point, everybody should really think about the quality of the food and the air and the water and the personal care product that we're using, and try to minimize any sort of contaminants, whether it's microplastic or other types of organic or inorganic species. So there are behavioral things, absolutely, that we can be doing on a day-to-day basis by thinking about the materials that we work with, and maybe decreasing the amount of plastic materials that are there. Some things that a consumer can do. Milk, as you know, comes in either milk cartons or it comes in plastic milk jugs. Maybe switching to glass bottles rather than plastic bottles. Switching from a plastic cutting board to a bamboo cutting board. Or potentially moving away from Teflon coated pans to other sort of non-stick surfaces, or essentially using oils to be able to keep food from sticking to pans. Personally, I have recently switched all of my food container, my Tupperware storage containers and Ziploc bags. I've moved almost exclusively to glass storage containers for leftovers. There are studies published that definitely allude to the fact that heating can accelerate the leaching of plastic material from the container to the food. So that is easy fix, because then the glass storage containers are very much microwave and dishwasher safe, and they can go into the refrigerator and freezer, and it decreases any sort of leaching from that plastic container to my food during heat and cold cycles. At the end of the day, I think that people need to have an understanding and appreciation that we live in an industrialized world with lots and lots of technology around us. With all of that technology, such as plastics, there are some unintended consequences. Most materials we work with degrade. It doesn't matter if it's paper, wood, or if it's plastics, or if it's metals. And environmental conditions accelerate that degradation. I think the important thing to keep in mind is if we can characterize and understand the degradation mechanisms and then what the effects of the degradants have on the environment, then the better off we will be for protecting ourselves and mitigating damage to our lives and to society.